Hi, I'm Adam with Let Us Try That. If you're on a keto or low carb diet and you're wishing that you could have a delicious biscuit with your low carb meal, then I'm about to make your dreams come true. Because in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a scrumptious cheddar biscuit similar to the ones they serve at Red Lobster. I originally found this recipe on the Wholesome Yum website, and I'll link to them below this video. Check out their site for more great keto-friendly recipes. To make these yummy cheddar biscuits, you'll need almond flour, baking powder, garlic powder, salt, 1 large egg, heavy cream, butter, and of course, cheddar cheese. We can start by preheating the oven to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 177 centigrade, and lining a baking sheet with parchment paper. I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees. I've got, I think, everything I'm going to need, most of what I'm going to need. And I need a baking sheet. And you can either spray this with cooking oil, grease it with butter, or you can use a piece of parchment paper. And then we'll be putting our biscuits on this. So I'll set this aside. And then I'm going to need 1/3 cup of melted butter. So 1/3 cup is right there. So I can put this in a little glass bowl and then pop it in the microwave long enough for it to melt. All right, we've got our melted butter. We'll be using that in just a moment. We're gonna use a large bowl and we'll put in 2 cups of almond flour. And in addition to almond flour, we'll be adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to put a little bit in there. And then 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. There's 1 and 2. I'll just mix all of this together. Break up any lumps of the almond flour. Next, we're going to add 1 large egg, and I like to beat the egg before I put it into the dry ingredients. So there's the egg, our butter that we melted moments ago. And we'll also need rest that in there for a second so it doesn't flop all over the place. We'll need 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream. So we'll mix that up a little bit and we'll add it to the dry ingredients. And we'll just stir that up until everything is well mixed. So now that everything looks well mixed, we can start folding in 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese. My oven is preheated and ready to go, so as soon as I get these onto the baking sheet, we can pop them in the oven. All right, now our cheese is mixed in well with our dough. We can start forming these into biscuit shapes and putting them on our baking sheet. This recipe makes enough dough that we should have 12 biscuits. So you can use a spoon or a cookie scoop or whatever you've got. I want them to be approximately that size, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. And then we'll just plop it down onto our parchment paper. If these end up being a little bigger or a little smaller, it doesn't really matter. But if you get them just the right size, you'll have enough dough for 12 biscuits. And you want to space them out because they will spread a little bit as they're cooking. And you want these to be of equal size as much as possible so that they all cook at the same rate. So if you have one dough ball that's a little bigger and one dough ball that's a little smaller, you can kind of move things around. You can add a little to this one, and add a little to that one. They're all more or less the same size. You can flatten them out a little bit. You don't want to squish them down too flat, but you can flatten them down a little bit. Okay, and then these go in the oven for about 12 to 16 minutes. And I find that with my oven, it's got to be on the longer side, about 15 or 16 minutes, but you can keep an eye on them, and once they start to turn golden brown, then they're ready to come out. They don't have to be brown all the way around. Once they start to turn brown, they should be done. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and we'll come back in about 15 minutes. Now, while our biscuits are in the oven, we can prepare a topping for them. And the topping is going to consist of 3 tablespoons of butter, which is pretty much what we have left after using 1/3 cup of butter to make the biscuits in the first place. So we'll take the remainder of this cube of butter and we will put that in the microwave and melt it. Okay, now our butter is melted. Mostly, there's a little bit in there that's not melted, but this is plenty hot, so it's going to continue to melt. And in the original recipe, she uses a teaspoon of freshly chopped parsley, which I don't have, so I'll just add in some Italian seasonings. And then she also does a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/8 teaspoon, or just a pinch of salt. So you could measure that out. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. We'll add some Italian seasonings. A little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt, and then we can mix that together. And then when the biscuits come out, we can brush this mixture onto the biscuits. So I'll mix that together, and as soon as those come out, well, I may let them cool a little bit, but then we can brush on the toppings and then they're ready to eat. All right, our biscuits have been in there for 15 minutes. And just around the edges, they're just starting to get golden brown, so I know that they're done. So we'll have to let them cool off a little bit before we eat them, but I can go ahead and brush on some of our seasoned butter topping. Now I'll just let those cool for a couple of minutes, then they'll be ready to eat. And there you have it, delicious Red Lobster style, keto-friendly cheddar biscuits. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share it on social media. And if you like, you can subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to make sure you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.